Never too much, never too much, never too much. How are you all? Nemo Ashong here, founder of Enjoyment and pioneer leader of the World Joy Movement. I am happy to come on here today because I've just been having a series of just amazing conversations, and I love them because they've been life-changing conversations. And so today I want to share some of the things that have come up for me. And really, I'll be honest, this is a lot of me processing this and doing it in witness of all of you, just to help me stay true to it and help me also explore this from a very real perspective. So, heyo, Annie, how are you? Thank you for even just spending just a little bit of time here witnessing this. It's helpful for me, and I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for being out here and witnessing however much you get a chance to stay for. So I just had a really great conversation, and it got down to it started coming up from this question of what I don't want you to know about me. I said, Nemo, what don't you want me to know about you? And I can't remember the exact response, not because I'm trying to hide it from you all now, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But instead, what generally came up was that what I don't want you to know about me is that I don't feel like I'm consistent, and that I feel that the things that I do, I may not complete. And what was the interesting takeaway, and insight that was offered, that was led to, was what if that is all tied to my story around that 12th grade or 10th grade social studies class. You see, when I was in 10th grade, there was a test that I got back, and I got my results on it, and the person in front of me grabbed the results and took a look at it, saw it, and said, of course Nemo, of course there was Niyama at the time, of course Niyama, you would have gotten this grade on it. And it wasn't anything where it was a high result. I think it was like a 94 or something out of 100. But I learned in that moment that, wait a minute, Nemo, when you are successful, you make other people around you feel bad, feel small. And it's something that has carried with me, and I'm still working through. And so when she asked me this question, and I'm going to give props to the powerful coach, Shanequa Fleming. Thank you very much for asking this question at that time. It was well timed. It led to something that really just kind of shone a light on the fact that, like, I'm still playing this game, this thing of being too much, and what might come from being too much. And so it led to this thing and it's shown up actually in a very interesting way, in a way that I wouldn't have expected it. But quite frankly, here goes something else I don't want you to know about me. I feel that most of the time I'm operating out of a 3 out of 10 in terms of my Nemo-ness, my Nemo energy, my Nemo passion and excitement and all that. Like right now, I'm in a good place. I actually feel really, I don't need to be at a 10. Let's see here. I'm getting that you cannot hear me, so let me try this bad boy. Can you hear me now? Good. Thank you. So what I was saying was just that, generally speaking, at this time, like a lot of times, I feel like I'm operating at like a 3 out of 10. In terms of my Nemo-ness, like the things that like all of my personality, all the ways that I look at things, and how I show up, and that has actually been scaled up a lot in the last few months. I've been, if you've noticed, since January of 2018. I'm going to go on the other side, and I will brave the heat in order to get some light here, so it's a more pleasurable viewing experience. Okay. But what has happened over the last few years has just been this aspect of, a lot of times when I am told, like, whoa, Nemo, that's a lot, or hey, like, you have a lot of energy, dude, or of course you need to talk. I get this a lot with my family. Of course you have something to say. Of course we need to talk. Can we just have a moment of peace? And for me, the thing about it is that, like, that's not me even, I'm not even trying. Like, that's just me existing, you know? That's me at like what I would consider to be a level 3 of putting my joy, my energy, my power out there. And so there's this feeling of wow, if I really went out there, I would be too much. I'll be too much. I couple that feeling of if I really went out there, I would be too much for most people, given that my status quo is already more than most people seem to be able to handle or want. That one's kind of hard to say out loud, but yeah, I guess that's probably true. And then on top of that, then we have this aspect of if I am successful, I'm going to make other people, I'm just not going to have relationships. Other people are going to go away from me because I'm going to make them feel some type of way. They can feel smaller. And so the reason I decided to jump on to this live here is, one, I wanted to talk through some of these here and share these things here, and to share in a way that also that is also real about the fact that, like, I talk about joy a lot, and it's very real for me. I'm actually feeling joy right now as I'm talking here, but it doesn't mean that I don't have the other experiences. I think it actually allows for each of those other emotions and such to be even more rich. So right now, I'm working through. I want to make sure that I'm not coming off just in the pure joy mode, because that's not real, and I think that, like, it's important to have all sides of it. So the thing that's fun for me, and the reason that I'm excited and I can still feel the joy here, is that Shanequa helped me see this from a different perspective. And the perspective here was in some of the activities and things that I want to put on, both for enjoyment for myself and, quite frankly, for the world. Like, and I don't mess around. I can say that very confidently. I'm not playing a small game. I'm gonna go down here because I think the car traffic is a bit loud. So the thing that's come from it here was, is it possible that I am afraid of my fact that I don't seem to finish or close, and that being drawn from the fact that, quite frankly, in my life and experience, because I have tried not to be outwardly successful, I have consistently found myself in and yet I've still found myself in places that I wasn't expecting to be, Singapore being one of them, and areas of my life that I feel like I'm doing really well. Is it because of that I feel like I don't deserve it, that I haven't earned it? Like, this is all coming out here in the live, and I wouldn't say I'm okay with it. We'll just see where it goes. But it's coming out to the point of, hey, sometimes I don't try as hard, and I still get really awesome results. And if you've worked with me here, you'll know that I can spend 6 months thinking about an idea and then just execute it in 2 weeks, and it'd be awesome, right? And that's not even, that's just how it comes out. And it's something that we were discussing, and it kind of came out to the fact of, hey, do you add these 6 months into the mix because that's a way for you to feel that you've worked hard? Have you created extra work for yourself so that you feel that you can deserve it? So that when the outcomes come out there, you actually feel that, hey, this is something that you worked toward, that you made come to life, because it was hard. Are you making things hard because from that standpoint there, you wouldn't be shining too much? Are you making things hard for no reason at all? And if so, like, what if it was just easy? What if it was just effortless? What if you allowed yourself to just do it the effortless way? What if it's been really powerful for me. It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and I'm like, let me come out here and share it on the live here. But it's really gotten me thinking, like, what if all the steps that I've added, and I help my clients to like jump through and say, okay, if this is where you're trying to get to, let's just get you there. What if all the steps that I've added into my process are only there not because they're actually real, but because if I do it and it just works, I would feel that I hadn't earned it. I would feel that it was luck. And I need to know that it was because of me. I need to know that it's because of my effort that it happened. Otherwise, I'm like, I think I'll be afraid that I'll never really own it, right? And be caught in a level of imposter syndrome. And so I'm putting all this out there here from the standpoint of just exploring it, just putting it out there, shining some light on it for myself, but also making a declaration of saying, okay, like I see this, it's worth at least exploring, it's worth at least experimenting with. And so in the next couple of weeks, there are things I know that I can do like that, like get in conversations around the things that are really firing me up right now. Is super simple. I love helping people show up in the world unapologetically. That is fun for me, being unapologetically you. I've also been having some really interesting conversations today back on the inclusion topic in America, and the future of inclusion altogether. And I got really fired up during the conversation, and I realized that part of the reason for that is that I'm part right now. When I don't say anything, I actually feel that I'm part of the silent majority. The silent majority. I feel like most people out there don't want what we have right now. And yet, when we see the evidence of this here, we see other people stepping in and saying things in a way that, I don't know, that makes it difficult to really express what you believe. You know, we were talking about, like, back in college, like, we spent all of our time just exploring ideas and being totally open to the fact that there's so many different ways of looking at something, and nothing is necessarily right or wrong, but you can explore it from so many different options. And I see the lack of being unapologetically you showing up in the issues that we're having around inclusion, the issues that keep showing up, the conversations that we want to have that we aren't having. And it comes down to, like, well, if people actually knew what I really believed, well, then they wouldn't accept me, or I'll get attacked, or, you know, people would think that I'm not XYZ, whatever it is. You put in your word there, but it's one of those things where these things are tied. They're deeply tied to me. So it's hard for me to talk about being authentic without talking about inclusion, because if you felt and talking about inclusion without talking about belonging, because when you get to these places, you're able to express yourself so fully. You're able to be unapologetically you. Annie, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about there. And so these items are all deeply interconnected for me, because it ends up being, can you show up as yourself in the world? Do you feel comfortable? Do you embrace that? And note that this is not a guy that's just walking around talking about be unapologetically you. Look how awesome it's worked out for me. It's like, no, look at all the stuff that's happening in our lives because we aren't doing this, because we aren't showing up and being unapologetically ourselves. There's so much here that we could take ownership of, so much here that we could change. And it's more than just an ideal. It's actually like what we need in this society, what we need at this time in our lives, in this time of the world here. And so I want to invite you all to look at that from that perspective. What conversations aren't you having because you don't feel like you can be yourself in it? You don't feel like you can express yourself in it. Maybe this is happening with a difficult conversation related to politics or race, or something that's happening, or inclusion overall. Maybe it's something that is happening at work, and there's something that needs to be said. Maybe it's something that's happened with a relationship that you have, and something that needs to be said, but you're like, I'm not able to be more than just, I'm not able to really be myself in this situation. There's a giant chair here. A giant chair. I want to just sit on it, but it looks also kind of dirty. I bring all this up here because I want to make sure I'm keeping it real, keeping it on 100% of it all. I might be too much for people. These conversations might be too much for people, and that's okay. If you you'll be seeing some things that are just, you might see a lot come from me in a short period of time. You might not see anything come from me. I might go and spend all my times working with different individuals or corporations or communities. I'm not necessarily sure, but all I know is I'm turning up my dial. If right now I've been at a 6, I think I'm ready to turn it up even further and get to that level 8 and get Ariel. What is up, good sir? Good to see you. But I'm ready to turn up that dial even further and be even more of myself. And I think right now where that's leaning toward is just get into a place of just being comfortable, being too much. Annie, I appreciate you saying it. You said I think I might be too much for people. I think that's something that many of us are afraid of. I appreciate you sharing that there. And this is the reason why I put it out there, because I don't think you are not alone. I know for a fact, me and you are right here. You are not alone. There are a lot of other people who are watching this video now and will be watching it in the future. Like, this is something that is happening and no one is talking about. This is what I mean by the silent majority. We know that things are off. We know that we want to express ourselves, and we're not, because the vocal minority is putting things out in a way such that having our own thoughts, having our own feelings, saying something that is not the norm or doesn't go with the trend is just not safe. And the world that I'm creating. Ooh, I almost took that back. I'm like, I can't say that. I'm like, hell yeah, I can. The world that I'm creating has individuals who are fully empowered, and that empowerment comes from being themselves. They don't hold back. They aren't apologizing for being who they are, and they are leaders as a result of it. They are not even pulling, but they're creating space for others to come and follow and walk into that world with them. And that's what we need. That's what we need right now. We need a society of leaders that are willing to go out there and do the difficult work. I was talking to someone right before I got on this call. It's part of what got me fired up. I was like, you know what? And she's like, you know, I've learned that I can have these types of conversations because I get into it. I'll talk about the fact that I think that my experience of the inclusion things that are going on, I'm like, it's more focused on diversity, and it doesn't work for me. And so we were talking about it for a while. We were able to explore multiple angles, be able to both leave there improved without having to prove anything. And what came of it was a statement, and at the end of it, it was like, yeah, we used to be able to have these conversations in college. I feel I can only have these conversations with my college friends. And what came up for me was, I was like, yes, they taught us how to think about things from multiple perspectives, but we may not have learned how to speak up for what we believe. We may not have learned how to speak up for what we believe, even with, and especially if it's not popular. And so that's where we're playing right now. It's a game of leadership. It's a game of your life. It's a game of what kind of a world do you want to live in. And it's a game of joy. It's a game of knowing that, like, hey, you can fully express yourself and still not only be okay, but be amazing as a result of it. So that's where I'm at. I think the rest of this year, you'll hear me talk about things from a number of different perspectives. It could be diversity. Actually, it likely will not be diversity, because that's not a place that I play. Inclusion and belonging, authenticity, possibility, joy. They're all at the same. At its core, it's all the same thing. Are you willing and able and to just be yourself? I'm launching a group experience here. What I found from working with people is that part of what has made this, and actually just reflecting back on myself, part of what gets us to this place of being unapologetically ourselves is having a cohort, having a peer group, a group of people who are on your level or above that see things and are willing to dive into these kinds of conversations with you, that are willing to dive into helping you see more of yourself than you've ever seen before, that aren't afraid of expressing themselves in front of you and sharing their big dreams, sharing the things that get them excited. I've been talking to people here that have missions in life. They're not just making money. They're not just doing things. They have missions. There's a reason why they do the things they do. And it's been really invigorating for me, and a place that perhaps in the future I might go and spend the majority of my time, if not all of my time, working with these mission-driven, possibility-seeking people who And I've found from this perspective here, it's become even more important for them to be able to be unapologetically themselves, because they are leading others toward a mission that is far greater than their own. And so as I continue to see more and more of those people enter my world, and I'm happy, I'm thrilled that you're there. I'm gonna give Kelly Childress a quick shout out right now as I think about that. But as more of these people end up entering my world, it's becoming more and more apparent how important it is. How important it is for us to be unapologetically ourselves. So I'm putting this out here. I wanted to start out here modeling it myself with sharing some things that made me uncomfortable, sharing some new revelations that I've had, and explore them with all of you. Oddly enough, and not odd at all, I've kind of found this has been something that happens after these Facebook Lives. But like that which was terrifying to me 15 minutes ago seems pretty common right now. I'm like, oh yeah, why was that a big deal? Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. We're good. So look up. I'm turning the dial up. Looking forward to being even more of myself for all of you. Yeah, with all of you and for all of you. So that's a great place to be. All right. Choose joy every day. Journey on. Bye.